Have you ever felt like you were carrying everything, while slowly disappearing, not because anyone asked too much of you, but because you forgot how to say, I can't? Today, I want to tell you a story, but not just any story. This one comes quietly, like a whisper to the soul, the kind that doesn't ask for answers, only presence. So wherever you are, in your room, on your lunch break, or just trying to hold it together, take a deep breath with me. Let your shoulders drop, just for a moment. If this story touches something deep inside you, tap the like button now, not for the algorithm, but to say yes to yourself. And at the end, tell me in the comments, did this story find you? Right where you needed it? Now, let's walk together. She used to carry the world on her shoulders, quietly, consistently, without applause, without rest. Every morning, before the sun rose, she moved through the house like a ghost made of duty. She would open the curtains before the light even touched them, prepare breakfast no one thanked her for, lay out clothes that others wouldn't. Notice were clean. Her body moved, but her mind drifted far away, somewhere she hadn't visited in years. The place inside her that once laughed without needing permission. Now, she just moved. The floorboards didn't creak under her feet anymore. They had learned her rhythm. The coffee machine started before her thoughts did. The laundry pile whispered her name before her own did. No one asked if she had slept. No one noticed her eyes no longer held light. She wasn't sad. She was exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. The kind that settles in the soul like dust in a forgotten room. Her breath was shallow. Her smile rehearsed. Her prayers, if she still dared to whisper any, were quiet, unfinished, and often drowned in the sink as she washed dishes. Her days were made of lists and silence. Appointments, groceries, medications, reminders to smile. Folding clothes, serving meals, answering calls. The house was full of people, full of voices, full of needs. But she had become the invisible hinge that made everything move. Always giving. Never asked. Everyone needed her. No one saw her. And slowly, she had started to vanish from her own life. She wasn't angry, just invisible. The kind of invisible that only becomes visible when something breaks. And one evening, as the sun melted behind the curtains, the plate slipped from her hand and shattered across the kitchen floor. It was loud, sharp. For a brief second, the sound filled the whole house, but no one looked up. No one came. She stood, still, surrounded by shards, then knelt, quietly, and picked them up one by one, bleeding into the dish towel like a silent offering. Her hands shook. Her breath caught in her throat, not from pain but from the realization that no one had noticed. Again, that night, she sat on the edge of the bed long after the lights were off. She stared at the wall, at the calendar, at nothing. Inside her, something began to loosen. Not like a knot untying, but like fabric tearing slowly. And for the first time in years, she didn't push it away. She didn't promise to do better tomorrow. She didn't plan. She just sat in the dark. In herself. The next morning, she sat at her desk, staring at the screen. Her inbox blinked with urgency. Her coffee had gone cold. The noise around her faded into a distant hum, like she was underwater, watching the world move above. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but nothing moved. Inside, something was unraveling. Slowly, steadily, she stood up, walked to the bathroom, locked the door, and slid down the wall. Her legs folded beneath her like paper. Her body trembled. Not from fear, but from the weight of carrying too much, too long. And for the first time, she didn't try to stop it. She didn't wipe her face. She didn't tell herself to be strong. She let herself fall, not with sound, with silence. And in that silence, something cracked, not just her, but the story she had told herself for years. that she was only valuable when she was useful. The days that followed came in fragments, like broken film. She moved slower, answered fewer messages. Some she didn't answer at all. The house grew still, but this time, not from her efforts. She didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't explain. The walls didn't complain. The sky didn't fall. Her father asked if she was okay. She nodded, but he didn't push. And that was new. Sometimes she'd sit on the bathroom floor for long minutes, not crying, not thinking, just sitting, listening to her own breathing. She began to notice things she hadn't in years. The way light filtered through the blinds in the afternoon. The warmth of tea in her hands. The softness of socks just out of the dryer. She wasn't healed, but she was present. One morning, the air smelled like rain. She opened the window. The wind touched her face like a question. And for a moment, she didn't turn away. She closed her eyes. There, in that quiet, something stirred. A voice. Not loud, not clear, but hers. Faint and familiar, like a song she once knew. She searched for a pen, a scrap of paper, and wrote the words down with trembling hands. I exist, even when I'm not useful. She placed it on the table, like an offering to herself. A truth she had forgotten. The tears came then. Not from sadness, but from release. The kind of tears that don't ask for answers. Only space. She began again. Not with plans, but with presence. Small, almost invisible acts. Watering a plant that had wilted weeks ago. Sitting barefoot in the garden, letting the soil hold her. Watching the sky change colors without trying to name them. She didn't post about it, didn't journal it. She simply was. She started going for walks with no destination, letting her feet decide. One day, she found herself sitting on a park bench watching strangers laugh. And instead of feeling like she didn't belong, she simply watched. And let that be enough. Her father noticed. He didn't ask her to do anything. He just sat beside her one afternoon and told her about a dream he had. She listened, fully. For the first time in weeks, she felt like a daughter, not a caretaker. A neighbor knocked, brought her a small cake and a hesitant smile. They didn't talk long, but in that brief moment, she felt seen. Not for what she did, just for being there. She began singing quietly while doing dishes. Not because she was happy, but because her voice had returned. She walked to the market and bought flowers. Not for a guest, not for a table setting, just for her. Their colors were too bright for her mood. But that's why she chose them. One evening, she lit a candle and sat in the dark. No phone, no TV, just her, the flicker, and the quiet. It felt like prayer, or something close to it. She looked at herself in the mirror. Same face, same lines, but something had shifted. Not erased, not transformed, just softened. She hadn't returned to who she was, because who she was no longer fit. She didn't want to be the version of herself that endured everything in silence. In the breaking, something sacred had opened. Not a dramatic revelation. Not a miracle. Just a quiet space where she could finally breathe. And in that quiet, she learned something simple and profound. Healing doesn't always come from strength. Sometimes it begins when we stop pretending we're not breaking. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a breath, a pause, a whispered truth written on a piece of paper in the early morning. It doesn't rush. It doesn't announce itself. It just comes. Like morning light through a cracked window. Like rain after a long drought. Like a voice you've forgotten was yours.